Listen, whatever comes out in this video, and I got hair on there. Whatever comes out in this video, I am keeping because I have now done 40 takes. I have moved my camera around because I can't get it level. Like I've got a level on my tripod, and like every time I look into the camera, I catch a little glimpse of the tripod level, and I keep seeing it. So I had to like throw out all of my old content, and so I'm like starting new, and I'm not doing another video. So this is what you get. It is Monday. I have not posted a video outside of the Friday night show in a while, and I apologize for that. So I had some free time this evening, and I wanted to post a quick video just about some of my thoughts of my studies and things that are going on, and where you can expect Theology Nights to head throughout the rest of the year and into 2019. First, let me say thank you for all the support. We've been doing this for 6 months now. We started with just the Friday night show. That was the idea. We've completely blossomed from just that to a podcast and a full website, a mini store. We've had great guests. We've had interviews. We've had pastors and theologians and people from the community on. I have so many more lined up. I have right now, we have this coming Friday, I have a guest. I have the next Friday, we have a guest coming up. I have another one at the end of December coming up. I have one in January coming up. Like the response that people are giving towards Theology Nights has just been so positive. There's so much support. And so thank you. Because as I always say, I can't do this without you. Listen, I'm just talking. I'm just behind the camera and I'm talking. I'm either on this camera, I'm on the webcam, I'm on the podcast. Like, you guys are the ones that are doing the work of supporting the ministry and showing how much you care about Christ and right theology by supporting the show and telling others about it. Because, like, listen, like, people in the community talk to me about it, and it's very encouraging. And the dogs, there they go again. I think it's when I talk, because they'll sit here in just dead silence, and then as soon as I start talking, they just start fighting. And it's so funny because they're old dogs. They don't have a lot of energy. And right before we came downstairs, they were just laying on the couch. One was on the couch, one was on the floor. They were sleeping. I decided to come downstairs and do a video, so they followed me. Instantly start, what is it, WWE? Is that the wrestling thing? I don't know. Oh, Rory. I can't express my gratitude enough for the support. And, like, listen, like, from my heart, personally, like, this has been like a dream of mine for a very long time. I know I've shared the story with a lot of people, but just in case you're not familiar, like a year and a half ago, last summer, 2017, I really started getting this itch to do something online. I didn't know if it was a podcast, if it was writing, if it was, I didn't know. And so I started praying about it, and it just felt like every time I would get ready to do something, it would just sort of fade away, and it never felt right. And then I would put it to sleep. I wouldn't think about it or anything. And then a couple weeks later, I'd say to Christine, like, hey, listen, I'm getting that urge again. I need to do something. And then I'd start this cycle all over again. And then it just sort of went like this for a really long time. And then about 8 months ago or so, I just was really getting the urge again to do this, and I started praying and asking people like what I should do and what did it look like and what would be a good, how could I get a good response from the community. And here we are. We're 7 months in now. We've had a live show every Friday night. We have people that show up every Friday night. People go to the website all week long. They're reading the articles. They're watching the sermons that I share. They're listening to the podcast. I mean, the podcast gets a ton of downloads every episode. So evidently I don't have a face for video, but I do have a voice for radio, maybe? Either way. You guys are like supporting the ministry of Theology Nights, and I know that like from your standpoint you're thinking, yeah, like I know you, I'm gonna support you and stuff like that, but from my standpoint, I'm a guy behind the camera or behind the microphone who knows about the hundreds of thousands of millions of bazillion podcasts that are out there, and there's so much good content, and it's so hard to like figure out like who do I listen to and what should I support and who do I need to follow. And the fact that every single week you guys support me and watch my show and listen to the podcast and read the articles, and we have conversations in the community about what Theology Nights is doing and how we're helping other people. It's just very humbling for me. And so I always am about giving back to you guys to learn more about what it is that you want to see through Theology Nights and how I can be better. So with that being said, we're going to continue to do the Friday night show. That's not going anywhere because that's our big thing. The however is I would like to hear more from you guys as to what sort of content you'd like to see throughout the week. I want to add one more regular piece of the puzzle to Theology Nights outside of my daily stuff that I share articles and scripture and quotes and things like that. Completely outside of that. But I want to hear from you. Like, do you guys want a podcast that you can listen to once a week outside of the Friday night show? Do you guys want another video that you can see? Do you want some teaching? Do you want, what do you want? Do you want to see a series of something? We had briefly talked about before doing the Bible study. It just didn't really stick. It didn't really catch on, so I decided not to do that. But as I really want to interact and produce consistent content, I want to know what it is that you guys would like to see. So reach out to me, send me a message, leave me a comment below. Let me know if there is a certain book of the Bible you'd like me to teach from. Is there a book review you want me to do? I don't know. Whatever it is, just let me know because, again, I want to produce content that you guys want to hear. I have some great things lined up that we're going to start doing at the beginning of the year. The rest of the year, like I said, we've got amazing guests lined up. I can't wait to interview these guys. I'm so grateful that these guys have agreed to be on the show and to support Theology Nights by lending their voice. But listen, like, the reason why we're doing this is to make Christ known. Like, that is all that I care about. Excuse me, I don't care about anything else outside of making Christ known. Like Paul says to the church at Corinth, he says, I decided to know nothing among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. His one mission in life was to proclaim Jesus Christ and him crucified. He didn't care that the message was foolishness to the world. He didn't care that this message was a stumbling block to the Jews. He knew the mission that he was given was to make Christ known among the nations, and he was obedient to that. And that is what we're trying to do here at Theology Nights. I'm not certainly trying to elevate myself to a specific platform, because again, there's numerous people online that you can watch. I'm nothing special. I'm not unique. I'm just a guy with a camera and a story and some resources that I want to use to get back to our community, especially in our little corner of the world here in Northeast Ohio. There's not really anything like this that's going on. And so the fact that like this is not bragging, and if it comes off across that, I'm sorry, but I'm not trying to be that way. Like the fact that in Poland, Ohio, in Youngstown, Ohio, we have a website that is devoted to scripture and theology and doctrine that is receiving support from people across the country, like that should excite us. Like that should really get us amped up to grow in our knowledge of Christ through any avenue that we can. Not just my ministry of Theology Nights, but any ministry that you can find online. Any website that is promoting solid theology and promoting good resources. And so I'm just thankful because without your guys' support, nobody knows about Theology Nights. Without your guys' support on Friday nights, there's just me talking behind a camera. And so I'm just so grateful that you guys continue to show up every week. And so, you know, kind of the summary of all that I'm trying to say here is like, listen, like we've got to work hard at growing in our knowledge of Christ, and I say that always, and as soon as I say it, I always think like, well, people are going to think that I mean we got to work at getting saved. That's not. I could, believe me, I am as reformed as they come in their soteriology. I believe that we are saved by grace through faith alone, without any works, without any boasting of yourself. Period. But what I mean by, like, Paul told Timothy to practice these things, to immerse himself in these things, in the scriptures, so that all might see your progress. That's kind of the message of what I'm trying to say is like, listen, we have all the resources available to grow in our knowledge of Christ. We have no excuse at all to not grow in our knowledge of Christ. We have no excuse at all to not be teaching others about Christ, to tell others how they can grow in their knowledge of Christ. So I guess that's kind of my summary of what I'm trying to say is like, We don't have any excuse. And I always say this, and I genuinely mean it. Like, I posted something earlier today about like false doctrine and a quote from J.C. Ryle, and if you're caught up in that movement, or if you think you are but you're not 100% sure, or if you are really just wanting to grow in your knowledge of Christ but you don't know how, like, please reach out to me. Like, I cannot communicate that enough. Like, I would love to talk to you about like, listen, like, if you feel like you're caught up in some sort of false teaching, I'd love to talk to you about it. And even if you just want to vent and you just want me to listen, I'd be happy to do that. If you are saying to yourself, like, hey, listen, like, I felt like I've been like complacent in my walk with Christ for a very long time, and I really want to grow in my knowledge of Christ, because right theology produces right living, a right understanding of the Bible produces a right follower of Christ. If that's you, like, if you are saying I'm ready to do that, please reach out to me. Like, I've got resources you can have. I can point you in the direction of videos and sermons and podcasts and all these stuff. Like be consumed with Jesus Christ. I guess that's the message of what I'm trying to say as I'm rambling now 10 minutes on. Be consumed with Christ. Like, we are not just followers of Christ on Sunday mornings. Like, we are followers of Christ throughout the week. Use your resources, your time, your energy, your money, anything, whatever you want to say. Use that to make Jesus Christ known. Use that so you are increasing in your knowledge of Jesus Christ, so you can tell others about Jesus Christ, and they can tell others about Jesus Christ, and discipleship happens. And you know what happens when discipleship happens is people grow and they mature in their faith. And when people are mature in their faith, they're actually walking like followers of Christ should walk. And then the communities around us are better, and so on and so on and so on. That's the message. Be consumed with Jesus Christ.